How are you doing there, little buddy? Your nose is all dirty. You've been digging holes. Of course he's been digging holes. That's what he does. He's a terrier. Shadow and I are camping above the Parowan Gap. And the Parowan Gap is a true national treasure. It's a gap, a shortcut of sorts, that the Native Americans used for thousands and thousands of years as they would travel from the higher elevation Colorado Plateau down through to the lower elevation valleys that the gap leads to. And it was also used by the Spanish explorers, the Mormon Pioneers, and it's used to this day. One of the amazing things about the gap is that the Native Americans left a history. They pecked into the stone thousands of petroglyphs. And in this part of the country, these are some of the most intricate of petroglyphs. Really, really unusual petroglyphs, and we're going to explore them. They range from symbols to depictions of hunts, a lot of different animals and people, but even some very unusual ones that are believed to be calendars of sorts, tracking astrological events. There's a lot to them. There's a lot to them that we don't know, but we're going to check them out. But first, I've got to pack all this stuff up, because last night we were imaging the cosmos. And what we were imaging last night, I got several good hours of imaging time. I think the image is going to turn out beautiful. I'm going to show it to you, and I'll tell you about it at the end of the video. For now, I've got to pack this up. Then we're going to take the truck here. We're going to drive back down the road, all the way into the gap, back out of the gap, and start at the very beginning. I want you to be able to see the gap from the outside, because it's a gap. It looks just like a gap. It's pretty cool. And then we're going to make our way step by step all the way through it, explore it, see the petroglyphs, talk about them. I think it's going to be an amazing day. I hope you hang with us till the end, and I think you're going to really like what I captured out of that telescope last night as well. We've driven out of the canyon and have come down so you can see that is a gap. I mean, you can't find a better word to describe that. It is a gap, and it cuts all the way through these mountains up to the higher valleys that we're going to drive up through and see. But you can see it's a gap, and then you can see where it empties down into these lower valleys. So it was used for obvious reasons, because as winter would come, often people would migrate from the cold high plateau to the warmer lower valleys in these parts. Now, most of these petroglyphs are marked. This is a well-known petroglyph site. So we're going to make our way through and stop and check them out and see what else we might find. Okay, we're going to park right here at the mouth of the canyon and begin our way up. The petroglyphs are right along the side of the road, so Shadow's going to be on his leash. And we'll walk up through this section, then we'll come back and drive up further. Here's the first panel. It's very interesting to me. It looks like a ladder going up to something there on the lower left, and then somebody falling off. That's what I see. And then up at the top there, some very specific symbols you see all over in these parts. So there's always a snake. You can see a snake over on that right side. Snakes in many of these petroglyphs. But what does it mean? I am convinced there's meaning. I don't think it's doodling. I think it's real, but we just don't know. This part of the gap is very narrow. There's a road through it. There's a few cars that come through, and they've got the petroglyphs fenced off, which I'm grateful for, so that people don't deface them. So what they carved into is called desert varnish. Desert varnish forms on sandstone, and it is an iron excretion. Iron in the sandstone, when the sandstone, when it rains and it gets a little wet, and then with sun, the heat kind of pulls it out, and it forms a dark, very hard layer on the stone, ideal for pecking into petroglyphs. All right, so look at this. HSH 1882. And then something that looks like a pirate. And I think that is 1839. There's 1887. So we do not want to deface these things, of course. But the question is, when does something become a defacement and when is it a relic? When they're dated back that far? Well, you know, they didn't carve over. That's good. They didn't carve over existing petroglyphs, so I'll give them credit there. Okay, there's some awesome ones here. Let's start at the bottom. Right there. Absolutely beautiful, very detailed. Various patterns. I mean, this looks like a language to me. Then over here on the lighter stone, is loaded chalk. It's chocked full of different things going on there. Some bighorn sheep, and then those circular spiraling things you see all over the Southwest. And up higher there. Look how intricate, look how much is going on there. More spiral, hands. Up higher. I don't see any at the tip top. Wow. Let's keep moving. Take us to the petroglyphs, Shadow. Look at that. The snake, again, I see that everywhere. Circles, which I'm quite sure is something spiritual. But then you see different patterns, which I think is where there's something being communicated more linguistically. Okay, this one right here. That one, that main one right in the middle. Many believe that is tracking astrological signs, a calendar of sorts. I've read. I cannot say that that is in fact with authority, because I don't know, and I don't know if anybody really does. But a lot of work went into that. You know, in 9 Mile, there were a lot of bighorn sheep and strange-looking people and depictions of hunts and kind of like stories. But here, this is more like a language. So here is the sign that talks about how that right ahead of us is interpreted by some to be astrological signs. Here is another interpretation telling us that it's a story of migration. 2 different interpretations, which tells me it's open to interpretation. I don't know if anybody really knows. There you go, buddy. Cave weight up there, and it looks like a ledge. I wouldn't be surprised if that was lived in at one point in time. I can't help but notice this conglomerate and how many, perhaps millions of years of history might be in that one boulder made up of rocks from all different eras bunched in. I would love to rock hound that rock, which we obviously will not do here. This is a historical preservation site. We will not be rock hounding here, but being a rock hound, I can't help but just imagine what it would be like to pour through that. Some of these formations that are left behind are really cool. So you can see this is all layers of sandstone, limestone. This was once an ancient seabed. It was thrust up through tectonic forces. A river then flowed through, carving out the gap, followed by wind and erosion and rains. So we're left with some really cool formations. It looks like the ancient Native Americans weren't the only ones to leave their marks in this canyon. That is a dinosaur footprint. Looks like 1 and 3 clawed. Another one here. 1, 2, 3. Here's another one. Now, these were some big dinosaurs. I don't think I'd want something with a footprint that big chasing after me. There's a little dinosaur right there. He's cute. I think there's some more up here. Okay, here's another, but it's in the shade. So I hope you see it here. That's a dinosaur footprint. And I'm hoping that the sun doesn't darken the camera too much so that it doesn't show. Bring the camera down a little bit. Hopefully that shows. They're hard to find. Like, even though there's a marker, that's not easy to see. Okay, I know we missed some, but we saw some too. Big dinosaurs. There's a sign up here. Let's read it. All right. 65 to 75 million years ago, and the dinosaurs were hadrosaurs, or duck-billed, three toes, and resemble giant bird feet. They weighed a few tons and were 10 to 40 feet long. Yeah, they were very, very big. As the dinosaurs walked through the mud, they left footprints. These footprints would eventually fill with pebbles and sand, and over time harden into rock. Over millions of years, erosion brings these rocks to the surface where we can see them today. Really cool. We've driven to the top of the Parowan Gap, and you can see how it bridges now from what we just came from to these valleys. And then there are canyons that will give you access. There's one right there. There's one right there. There's one over there. Up higher as you enter onto the Colorado Plateau. It's beautiful. It's beautiful out here. That's private property going that way. Now there are some other petroglyphs that aren't marked, and we're going to go see if we can find some. Wow, well, you see where we're parked down there? And we're hiking up the Parowan Gap. If you follow that dirt road, go up and back down into it. So it's a couple of miles that way. And the petroglyphs, I think they're there. I think I see them. And I think I see them there too. We just got a little bit further to go. And this is not easy hiking, as you can see. Look at the snow on those peaks way out there. Shadow always finds the best places to pose. Okay, I see them. This is really rocky. All right, they're all throughout here. Never touch them with your hands. The acid on your hands can damage them. Another of the intricate patterns. Can't make that one out very well anymore. I think I'm starting at where they start on the left, and then we'll move right, I think. Bighorn sheep. This one's really cool. Okay, I'm gonna try not to get in the shade. Half of it's in the shade, but not for me. And half of it's in the sun, so hopefully this will turn out. Kind of come in closer so that the camera can adjust. It's always difficult on the camera when half the picture is bright and half is dark. That's really interesting. You know, it looks like some kind of a snake figure, but I don't know. All right, here's some more. Another snake. This is weathered pretty bad, hard to tell. Lead on, Shadow. Find petroglyphs. Stop posing for the camera. You're such a little camera hog. Keep going. Oh, there's some awesome ones up there. All right, I got to make my way up there. This is like dangerous territory here. There's some petroglyphs. Looks like a cross. I wonder if the Spaniards came this way. But why would they come up to these tops of these cliffs? All right, I gotta put the camera down. Look, there's like holes underneath these things. Do I really want to go up there? Can I get it from here? Well, let's try. When lava is very jaggedy and holy, full of holes, and you can see how it quickly dried. This is relatively fresh lava. I would estimate, I'm going out on a limb here, but somewhere between 10 and 30,000 years ago, because it looks new to me, and that's about the time frame for the volcanoes that aren't far from here that I have researched. So I think it's part of the same volcanic complex. Okay, I did it. Here you go. Those are very interesting figures. I don't know what they are. That's a really cool paw. Thanks, Mark. Green, 1977. Yeah, really awesome, Mark. You know how to deface. I hope you see this video and you're embarrassed. Okay, I don't see any more that way. Okay, I gotta make our way this way. I gotta turn the camera off again. It's very interesting. I have no idea, but it's very interesting. And that's all I can say. And even those that say they can figure them out, I'm telling you, nobody knows. Nobody really knows. I'm finding this volcanic flow fascinating though, because it dried quickly. And it leaves kind of like you can kind of envision the shape as it was folding over and covering the ground. So the volcanic rock here is on top of, below us, underneath it is sedimentary rock. Do you see the roads, how it's sand? Do you see the red over there? Those cliffs are sandstone. Under us is sandstone. So the sandstone is softer than the basalt, the volcanic rock. So as wind and water and erosion takes place, the sandstone erodes under it. And it leaves these mesas. On top is harder lava rock. But eventually the sandstone kind of erodes under it, and gravity gets a hold and it starts to break it off. And thus it crumbles down, almost straight down. Really, really cool. Jared at Currently Rock Hounding, and that's a channel you should watch if you want to learn about rocks. He and I had a debate once on what's the most important tool to take with you rock hounding, and I said boots. And he laughed. He said, I only wear tennis shoes. Well, Jared, I'm sticking to my story. I'm sticking to my story. I'm so glad I have boots. This is sharp stuff. And I got to pick my footing very carefully. I'm not quite sure where to go from here. I guess I'll go back up. Yeah, I'm going back up. And then I got to put the camera away because I got to scale this. This stuff is slippery. It's almost easier to walk on the very sharp lava rock because you can grip it with your boots. Jared, with your boots. All right, oh, there they are down there. Let's check up here for a minute. Oh, wow. That's a cave that's had fires in it, many, many fires in it. That was lived in. And we've had some people put their initials up here. There's some petroglyphs, some animals, fair amount of defacing. That's really a tragedy. I hope people know better by now. I don't see any snakes, but Shadow, stay with me. Shadow has been rattlesnake trained to the extent possible. He knows to avoid them, and he gets his annual rattlesnake vaccine. There is one. Look at that. That is so common all throughout the Southwest. I think all across the country, North America, that spiraling shape. That definitely means something. Okay, we got some really intricate stuff going on here. I just wonder if that's like a counting system somehow. I don't think it's just a ladder. That looks like a map to me. Get over here where the sun isn't shining in the camera. That looks a lot like a map to me. We have a hand here. Hard to see. Very intricate here. That just has to have meaning. It's like a hieroglyph. Hands, animals. Looks like a dinosaur footprint. Kind of hard to make out. That was once very intricate. There's an airport not too far from here, so you can hear a lot of planes coming in and out. You see a lot of figures with human figures with horns, triangular bodies and horns. I think the horns might depict power. That's just my guess. I saw some more down lower. Hogging the camera again, Shadow. Is that what you're doing? Always posing. Some more of the circular. Looks like the guys that were shooting are moving on. Okay, moving down. Really cool. I hope the sun is capturing, or the camera's capturing. The sunlight is challenging today. Look at that cone. It just needs a scoop of ice cream on top. There's some lighter ones on top of this rock. They may continue on and on, but I'll tell you, this is really not easy. And I think we've seen enough to get an idea. This is going to be slippery, slidey. I don't look forward to this. I'm going to go really slow. I got to put the camera away. See this? This is sharp, really sharp. All of this is really sharp. It is not fun to fall in, and I'm not going to. Success! We did it. I did not fall, scratch myself all up. And you know why? Because I'm wearing boots. Boots, Jared, boots.